Hey friends of the Loft, it's Laura here. I hope you guys are having a great Sunday. Thanks to everybody who came to Sunday school this morning. We're so glad to be back in person. If you couldn't make it today, we hope that you will join us next week. And today was our last week in our Afterlife series about kind of what happened after Jesus rose from the dead and some of the people that he hung out with. And today we talked about Peter, and because of the resurrection, Peter knew he was forgiven. And he was forgiven because he denied Jesus 3 times, and he knew Jesus and he loved Jesus, and he said that he didn't when it really mattered, when Jesus was dying. And he felt a lot of guilt and shame over that. And I think we've all done something at some point where we felt super guilty about it. And it caused kind of a separation between us and God. And Jesus came and rose from the dead to say that our guilt is no match for God's grace. That his grace is sufficient, and we don't have to let our guilt change the faith that we have in him anymore. And instead, we let that grace change our guilt, which I love. So we looked at a passage in John chapter 21, where Peter had denied Jesus, and then Jesus is risen from the dead and is back hanging out with his disciples, and they have been out on the boat. They come to the shore and they're having a meal together, and Jesus just pursues Peter in this moment. And in verse 15 it says, "When they had finished eating, Jesus said to Simon Peter, 'Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?' 'Yes, Lord,' he said. 'You know that I love you.' Jesus said, 'Feed my lambs.' Again, Jesus said, 'Simon, son of John, do you love me?' He answered, 'Yes, Lord, you know that I love you.' Jesus said, 'Take care of my sheep.' The third time he said to him, 'Simon, son of John, do you love me?' Peter was hurt because Jesus had asked him a third time. 'Do you love me?' he said. 'Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you.' Jesus said, 'Feed my sheep.'" So 3 times Peter denies Jesus, and then Jesus gives him a chance to 3 times tell him that he loves him and that he knows he is the Son of God. And Peter probably felt tons of guilt that he had turned his back on Jesus in the moment that it really mattered. But Jesus is saying, I don't want your guilt to take over you. I want my grace to come in the midst of your guilt and fuel your faith. And that's what it did with Peter. He became one of the most prolific Christian men in our time, really. And he was a leader of the church. And like I shared this morning, part of the reason we probably even know the message and the story of the gospel is because of Peter, because he was one of the first people to kind of plant the Christian church around the world. So God used him and offered grace when guilt was what he deserved. And so if you feel like there's something you've done that's unforgivable, or something that you feel like is in between you and God, that you would know that his grace covers that guilt, that it is what allows you to be back in a relationship with Jesus, and that his grace is greater than the guilt that you feel. So get real in your life about where you feel that guilt. Be honest with yourself. Remember that guilt is no match for God's grace, and keep showing up and telling him how you're feeling. And then as you are transformed by the love of Jesus, keep speaking up and sharing that with those around you. And you have a chance to offer that grace to others, just as Christ has offered it to you. So with that, we hope that you enjoyed a little snippet of our Sunday morning today. And we hope that you'll join us in person next week. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.